Good evening and welcome to The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. I'm Andy Hodges. Tonight, let's talk and have an open conversation about the death penalty in Zimbabwe. Our discussion, death penalty. Will Zimbabwe reverse decision? In the studio tonight, I'm joined by Honorable Itayi and Ndudzo, chairperson of the Parliamentary Legal Portfolio.
Thank you very much. Let me just share my views on 3 points. Firstly, let me share my views on the provisions of the Constitution that provide for the death penalty. And I also then share my views on the functions of the Parliamentary Legal Committee. And lastly, I'll share with you the meaning of the adverse report that was given by the Parliamentary Legal Committee. So Section 48 is part of what we call that special section of the Constitution, which we call the Bill of Rights. So you have the right to life, right to education, right to dignity, right to privacy, among other rights. And you see that the foremost right provided in terms of the Constitution, which is constitutionally guaranteed, constitutionally protected, justiciable, meaning one can actually take it to court and find a remedy on the basis of that right, is the right to life. So Section 48, subsection 1 is very unequivocal and unambiguous that there is the right to life for every citizen of Zimbabwe. However, what you must note on Section 48 is that the right to life as we have it is not an absolute right. It is a right with a limitation. And the limitations are provided in Section 48, subsection 2, which provides that a law may permit the imposition of a death penalty in given instances. The given instances are firstly that one must have been convicted of murder in aggravating circumstances. And secondly, that this must be a judgment of a competent court which is final. And then it gives limitations or restrictions. It says that the death penalty cannot be imposed for any person who is below the age of 21. It cannot be imposed on a woman. It cannot be imposed on any person who is above the age of 70. So those are the limitations that
Inside the Constitution.
Inside the Constitution. Okay. And then I will move to the functions of the Parliamentary Legal Committee. The Parliamentary Legal Committee is a committee of parliament which is created in terms of Section 152 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. So you note that the Constitution creates, obviously, the executive, it creates the legislature, it creates the judiciary. But the special mention of this committee called the Parliamentary Legal Committee, which must be comprised of at least 3 legal practitioners. So it's
the idea being to review laws that come through to make sure that
you can be a member of parliament. Right. Anyone can be a member of parliament, anyone above the age of 21. But for you to be in the Parliamentary Legal Committee, you must be qualified to practice as a legal practitioner in Zimbabwe.
Okay, right.
And now, the role of the Parliamentary Legal Committee is well defined in the Constitution. The Parliamentary Legal Committee looks at 2 issues. It looks at every bill that comes before Parliament, and it also looks at every statutory instrument that is gazetted in Zimbabwe. In respect of every statutory instrument, the Parliamentary Legal Committee looks at whether that statutory instrument conforms to the requirements of the Parent Act, and also if it conforms to the requirements of the Constitution.
Okay.
In respect of a bill such as the one we are dealing with,
this is what you had to now look at. Right, so let's get to the adverse report.
Now, the Parliamentary Legal Committee looks at only one aspect of a bill, whether or not it is intra-virus the Constitution, or if it is outra-virus the Constitution, right, whether it conforms, it complies with what's provided in the Constitution. Bearing in mind that Section 2 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe states that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any law, practice, and tradition that may be inconsistent with the Constitution is void to the extent of the inconsistency.
So your committee determined that this law was against the Constitution?
Not the law, the bill.
The bill, sorry. The bill was against the Constitution.
The bill is a proposal.
Right.
So our reading of the Constitution as a committee is very clear that the Constitution is permissive. It allows the existence of the death penalty in defined circumstances. Now, the problem we are having with the bill in its present form is simply that when you read when you read the title is very clear. It seeks the abolishment of the death penalty.
Which means removing that death penalty clause outside of the Constitution.
The death penalty in Zimbabwe.
And that's in the Constitution.
That's what it seeks.
Right.
It's a bill, but it's seeking to abolish that which the Constitution permits. That's the first instance. The second problem we have is that when you read Section 2, it says, notwithstanding any other law in Zimbabwe, there shall be no death penalty. So it actually it seeks to be very definitive to say there shall be no death penalty which should be imposed under any circumstances in terms of the laws of Zimbabwe. And the point we take as a parliamentary legal committee is that for as long as the Constitution is permissive of the death penalty, it cannot be proper for an act of parliament
to change it,
to try and be so overarching in the removal of the death penalty. That is the issue. But I want to make one clear point. As the Parliamentary Legal Committee, we are not concerning ourselves with the debate of whether or not Zimbabwe should have the death penalty. We are simply concerned with the adjectival process, how we can remove
so
it,
the adverse
if we have to remove it.
So the adverse report is not about yes or no for the death penalty. It's about the legal issues, looking at it from a constitutional basis and saying that is the way we're looking at it. When people say change the Constitution, the whole country starts shaking because it's like, oh my goodness, what are we going to change? But let's assume, just for hypothetical reasons, that is one way around it, isn't it? To change the Constitution, eliminate that clause about the death penalty completely from the Constitution, and voila, there's no more need for a private member's bill.
Precisely. My take on it is that, as communicated, Cabinet is for the abolishment of the death penalty. Right. The opposition, as represented by the private member's bill, is for the abolishment. I want to believe that once Cabinet takes a position, members of Parliament of the ruling party, you have to toe the line and be supportive of that. And for your own information, when there is a constitutional bill, in terms of our constitution, it's not a requirement that it should go through the Parliamentary Legal Committee. Okay. So if people were to put their minds together and come up with this is the point I'm saying. Yeah. If Zimbabweans have reached a stage and a point where they feel they no longer want the death penalty in earnest, then they must summon the courage to bring a constitutional amendment bill which completely does away with Section 48, subsection 2, to the extent it provides for the permissiveness of the death penalty. That's one way around it. And you must ask yourself the question, why is it that people are not keen to bring in the amendment?
Well, I don't need to ask myself. I can ask my guests. Let's talk about that bill. Now, surely the bill also must cater for those prisoners who are already on death row. Does it look that deep? Does it say, okay, you're already on death row, what happens to them? Is it like suddenly there's a moratorium and their sentences are commuted? Do you have any idea?
Law does not work retrospectively. Okay. A parliament will always make laws that apply in the present and in the future. You don't make a law that deals with past events. It is not.
So if I'm on death penalty now,
of course, but if you need to know that Section 48, I think subsection 3 of the Constitution, also provides an avenue. It provides that the President of the Republic has the power to pardon those who are on the death row. Okay. So once there is a law that abolishes the death penalty, one would naturally expect that there would be that clemency by the president.
Right. Itayi, you did say that there were, maybe you may not have meant this, you said there were other ways. Is this constitutional way is one way, changing it, putting in a constitution, but are there other ways that we can?
There are two other ways in which we can achieve the same desired result. So, firstly, the constitutional amendment route, but it's not a straw in the park. Yeah. Keep in mind that this constitution is only 11 years old.
Yeah, to change it
So,
is a big
in
deal.
2013, the popular view of the people of Zimbabwe was that they want the death penalty. Have their views radically changed in 11 years? I don't know. Secondly, you need a 2/3 majority. Thirdly, to the extent it is a change in what is provided in the Bill of Rights, you actually then need to place it on the referendum to see if the majority of Zimbabweans want it. So whether Lucy can campaign and move the greater number of Zimbabweans above the age of 18 to support that view, I don't know. But the second view would be for the current bill as it has been brought to Parliament, would be for... So the Parliamentary Legal Committee is not a superior committee of Parliament. There are only 6 members of the committee. In a parliament where you have, I think, 290 members.
Right.
Regardless of their strong views on the law, the issue can still be put to a vote.
Right.
And people do not vote on the basis of the law, but people will vote on the basis of their political will. So one of the routes that are open is simply to put the report of the Parliamentary Legal Committee before Parliament for a vote. If the majority carries the day, then we'll proceed with the bill, regardless of the...
Is that where you are right now? Where are
reservations.
you right now? The bill is now being presented back to Parliament.
Before I deal with that, let me deal with the third route.
Okay, okay.
The third route is an amendment of the bill so that it carries into effect the concerns raised in the adverse report. We've got 2 concerns. We have concerns with the title, and we've got concerns with the wording of Section 2, which seeks to make Section 2 the overarching law, which is contrary to the provisions of the Constitution.
Do you recommend how it could be changed?
So as things stand, for your own information, we have actually received an amendment of the bill by the private member.
Okay.
So we are hoping to be able to sit down as the PLC and see if those proposed amendments address our concerns.
Okay.
If that happens, then we'll pass a non-adverse report.
Okay, all right. So let me ask you 2 questions. I hope you can answer me. Who is the actual private member who put the bill forward? Is that open for public?
Yes, that is Honorable Mushoriwa of Dzivarasekwa constituency.
Ah, okay. And what did they do? Are you able to tell us what was in the amendment or the re-amendment, if I can call it that?
No, yes. So to address the 2 points that I've raised.
Okay.
He has tried to change the name of the bill, but more importantly, he has also proposed to remove the entirety of what is provided in his bill is Section 2. So if that were to come before the PLC, my own opinion, because I don't speak on behalf of...
You need the committee, of course.
The PLC before it is said.
Of course.
My own opinion is that would address our concerns, and then we can have that.